This is a monitor. As you can see, it is very wide. But it's not just any very wide monitor. It's an ultra-wide monitor. So I've been using this monitor for almost 4 months now as of this recording. It's the 38GN950. It's the best monitor I've ever owned. It's also like the very first good monitor I've ever owned. It's a 38-inch panel, so it's quite large. It has an aspect ratio of 21:9, so you know it's an ultra-wide. A common resolution many ultra-wide monitors have is 3440 by 1440, and there's also 2560 by 1080, and then there's the Odyssey G9. But this monitor's resolution is 3840 by 1600, so it's got the pixel width of a 4K monitor, and the pixel height of whatever 1600p is. In total, it has 6,144,000 pixels. That's a lot of pixels. The monitor is able to go up to 144 Hz, and it uses FreeSync. There's also a G-Sync version, which has a fan inside it to keep it cool. Wasn't sure if that fan would be an issue for sound recording, so I got this FreeSync version instead, which doesn't have a fan. It also has other features, like an adjustable stand and a ring light in the back for ambience, so those are cool. So that's the monitor and its main features, but it's just the deuteragonist of this video. The protagonist is actually the RTX 3080, 10GB. I have to say 10GB now because Nvidia made a 12GB version a year later. No, it's not the 3080 Ti. It's a regular 3080 with 12GB of VRAM. You know, the version that should have launched in the first place back in 2020. Anyway, we gotta benchmark some games with the 3080, 10GB, on this monitor. But first, let's go over the specs of the rig we'll be using real quick. BAM! This is my computer. The main specs are the operating system Windows 11 64 bits, an i7 10700K that's water-cooled, a Z490 motherboard, 32GB of RAM, an M.2 solid-state drive, with other SATA solid-state drives, a bunch of fans, the RTX 3080, 10GB. The rig is powered by a 1000 watt power supply, and it's all housed into an O11 Dynamic XL with terrible cable management. Yep, this is my computer. Do you like it? With a rig like this, I figured it would make sense to get a monitor that made sense with the rig. So, we'll be benchmarking these games at 3840 by 1600. We'll cap them all at 144 FPS. Now it's playtime. Some like to say,
if you're not mining, you're gaming wrong.
So let's start with Deep Rock Galactic. Yep, that's right. This is an indie game. I literally just started playing it. With all the settings on Ultra, it seems to have no problem running on this map. In fact, it performs perfect. It can maintain a solid 144 FPS average here. That's way past cool. I heard that newer enemies released can affect the performance in this game, but I don't even know what they are, so I can't test that right now. I do like playing this game so far, but I gotta play more of it in the future. We'll continue mining into the Windows beta version of Minecraft. We'll go straight into Nvidia's Neon City map with ray tracing on. With the render distance at 8 chunks, the frame rate seems to vary based on what's on screen, but so far, we're actually above 60 FPS. When we turn ray tracing off, it recommends a 50 chunk render distance, and the performance goes up quite considerably, though the FPS still seems sensitive to where you are. I mean, as long as it's not jumping all over the place at once, it shouldn't be a big deal. Take a look at this burb. So I turned on the ray tracing again. But this time I maxed out the render distance and the frame rate sucked. Next, we'll benchmark the version of Minecraft that people actually care about. The Java version of Minecraft. The Java version runs very well on this machine. Floating around here, it can sometimes hover around 120 and 144 FPS. But that's a non-issue. The game performs just fine. You'll have to put a bit of effort to make this game run poorly. I have an idea. Let's increase the render, simulation, and entity distances. In this cave, it seems to hover around 120 FPS. Then I found this shiny squid. I never seen a shiny squid before. Then I floated out of the cave and noticed that the frame rate was dropping hard, and then the frame rate sucked. In Doom Eternal, the performance is a little challenged on max settings with ray tracing on, even with DLSS, at least on this map. But it seems to attain a 120 FPS average here, which isn't bad, but it does drop with all these particle effects on screen. Did I ever tell you that I don't like motion blur? I don't like it. It's really annoying. We'll try keeping DLSS on and ray tracing off. Now this is much better. We're hitting the 140s now. The performance can still dip when there's a lot of action on screen, but it's certainly not as bad as before. So that's cool. Nothing much else to comment on. Just painting the town red. They're trying to paint it green, like they're playing Splatoon or something. We can finally play Dad of Boy on PC now. This game has both DLSS and FSR. For now, we'll use DLSS Ultra Performance, and we'll go straight into the main gameplay. Being a dad.
There it is!
Hold! What are you doing? Now his guard is up. Only fire. Only fire. When I tell you to fire.
I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. Be better.
When Kratos stops yelling, the frame rate goes up. So far, the game seems to perform mostly around 100 FPS, but it can go into the 90s or even the 80s. But yeah, its performance is varied by the scene. Yeah, I probably should have played this more first before playing this on the hardest difficulty. But whatever. Looks like it performs pretty close to 144 FPS on this scene though. Kind of. I'd love to show you more of this game, but I died at this part.
Are you even trying?
Red Dead Redemption 2 is a very realistic looking game. To be honest, I just took some 100% save file off the internet and started screwing around. I never played the game before. I decide to ride my horse and take a trip to an area known as Strawberry.
Three hours later. Three more hours later.
We finally made it to Strawberry, but the frame rate seems to be dropping here, and the frame time has also gone up. So it's said that the performance is most challenged at night. So let's snooze. Check it out, it's the statue of the legendary bear market. Wow. Whoa, we just got isekai'd into a 60 FPS world. Let's go outside.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, we're going under 60. That's not cool. Let's switch to Ultra Performance DLSS. Okay, so we're hovering around 80 FPS. And we jump to 90 FPS for a bit. And on this bridge, it drops to 70 FPS. Then back to 80 off the bridge. Well, I guess we'll try turning DLSS off now. We're running under 60. closer to 50 now, but we did jump above 70 at this house. Meh. Yeah, I wouldn't play this game without DLSS, or at least lowering the graphics settings. Oh well. Wanna know what's cool about No Man's Sky? It has both DLSS and FSR we can use. You can find them in the anti-aliasing settings. No matter what my settings are though, the game doesn't seem to struggle flying around in space, so that's neat. On this planet though, it's another story. I went to this area and decided to test some settings here. With plain TAA plus FXAA, the FPS jumps around the 90s and the 100s. With DLSS quality, it averages around 120 FPS, but it did go up to 130 FPS. With DLSS Ultra Performance, it stays very close to 144 FPS. That's quite a large boost coming from no DLSS. We'll try some FSR settings despite using a 3080. With FSR Performance, the FPS is similar to DLSS Ultra Performance with this capped frame rate. With FSR Ultra Quality, FPS is similar to DLSS Quality. It did hit 144 FPS looking at the sky. I get the impression that on the 3080, DLSS gives more stable frame rates, while FSR could hit higher numbers it seems. I almost want to try uncapping the frame rate to compare DLSS and FSR. Well, maybe for another time. Genshin Impact is a game that's adored for its character designs. It has a PC version we can work with. I wasn't able to record directly into the game with OBS, so I had to use capture screen, so sorry if the video frame rate sucks. Speaking of frame rate, there currently isn't an option to go above 60 FPS on the PC version, so that's lame. Besides the occasional stutter, which I'm assuming is from background loading and stuff, the game always seems to perform at 60 FPS average in the overworld on this machine, which is very nice. To be honest, I don't play this gacha game very much, because I can never pull anything that I actually want. But there is a gacha game that I can pull for things that I want. Wanna know what it is? Honkai Impact 3rd is a gacha game from the same company, and I actually pulled some things that I wanted, so that's cool. It's a little older than Genshin Impact, so it's probably easier to run on PCs, but it does have Ultrawide support. And you can actually run this game at 120 FPS, at least in actual gameplay. The rest of the game has to be 60 FPS. With the shadow set to very high, and the frame rate set to 120, this game performs very well. We get an average of 121 FPS. Wait, what? So then I set the rendering accuracy to very high. And guess what? The frame rate sucked. Yeah, let's keep the rendering accuracy to regular high. The game also has graphics settings specifically for the story arc, a post-Honkai Odyssey, Chapter 2. I guess we gotta benchmark that too, huh? With no significant dips, we're averaging around 121 FPS, so there's basically nothing to complain about. Well, I got nothing else to say, so let me brag about this. Check out my HOR, Bronya. She's level 80 double S. I have her pry arm, and her stigma set maxed out. She is way past cool. Monster Hunter Rise has been ported to the PC, and like Monster Hunter World, it comes with ultra-wide support. We'll play with all these settings maxed, and turn motion blur off, because I don't like motion blur. So when exploring on this map, the frame rate averages around the 120s it seems. Then I look at Valstrax, and the frame rate jumped to 140. But then the FPS took a small hit after Valstrax moved. So I pursue. Here, check this out. So clean. Now there are 3 monsters in sight. The performance improved after Wyvern riding. Now they're all getting hit. We end the hunt at 136 FPS average. That's not bad at all. Hunting on an ultrawide monitor sure seems fun, don't you think? I haven't played a Halo game since Halo 4, so this'll be interesting. So the cool thing about Halo Infinite is that the game doesn't suck, and it's actually fun. For now. Unlike a certain other game. So I went to play with some bots on this map. As you can see, I suck at this game, but the FPS seems to average around the high 80s on ultra preset settings. While running for dear life, I decided to jump into this conveniently placed Banshee and take to the skies. Predictably, the FPS went up while looking at the sky. Looking back at the ground, it performed similar to how it was on foot. Unfortunately, I got knocked out of the sky. Oh well. As of this recording, the game currently doesn't have DLSS or FSR, but a game like this can certainly use them. Here's hoping we see them implemented soon. Finally, we'll do Elden Ring. What? It doesn't support Ultrawide? Lame. That's fine. I'll just wait until you put Ultrawide in the game. Well, what's the hold up? I'm waiting. Well, I guess I'll talk about 30XX. We'll play at max settings. This is probably one of the easiest ultrawide games to run. So, the game got a new update with a new stage and boss recently, so now it has 8 stages. And it has a bunch of new power-ups too. On this computer, the game runs at a solid 144 FPS. I mean, why wouldn't it? It's good to see more indie devs put ultrawide into their games. I appreciate it very much. Ultrawide monitors are a niche in the PC scene, and it probably isn't for everyone, but at least we'll have some games that support the feature, and some more games in the future will support it too. And with some games, you can tweak and even mod them to have ultrawide resolutions. It can even be done in some emulated games, like this one. But ultrawide monitors aren't just for gaming, of course. They're great for watching many modern movies, as many of them are already in ultrawide format. Also, when using apps like Premiere Pro, you can get more space to work with, even at some higher scaled resolutions. Personally, one ultrawide monitor is not a replacement for a dual setup. I mean, if you full screen an app or a game in ultrawide, you may still need a second monitor to do other things. I guess what you could do for a streaming setup, you could play a game at windowed mode at a lower resolution, and have other apps on the side if you want to. It'd be all up to you. So what do you think of ultrawide monitors? Do you want an ultrawide monitor? Do you think ultrawide monitors will become mainstream? Are you still trying to get a GPU at a not stupid price? Let me know in the comments. So that's the end of this video. If you happen to like this video, or perhaps you found it useful in some way, consider hitting the like button and subscribing. Or you can dislike it if you don't like it. And don't forget to share the video. How am I supposed to be a real main character without screen time? Alright, that should be everything. Bye!